Have you ever wished you could become truly unshakable? Have you ever wished for a mind that is hurt-resistant? Have you ever wished for a mind that is clear, sensitive, and active? Have you ever wished to be a man, to be a woman that walks on this planet unperturbed by criticism, rejection, or the quiet sting of betrayal? Have you ever dreamed of the day when that silent pain, the inner anguish, the harsh inner critic, the one that impedes your every move, finally disintegrates? Perhaps you're exhausted, tired of trying to be strong enough, tired of trying to be good enough, tired of trying to be perfect enough, hoping against hope that it will somehow armor you against the world? Or maybe you are tired of the insistent pressure to be somebody who is untouchable. But here is the great paradox you must face. The psychological movement you use to avoid hurt is hurt itself. Pain does not trap you. Your attempt to escape it does. As long as you numb yourself, build walls, and distract yourself, you are falling into the classic trap of emotional suppression. You will remain a hostage to the words that wound you, the actions that disappoint you, and the silences that hollow you out from the inside. If this is you, let me tell you, you are not alone. This is not a sign of weakness. It's the living reality for almost everyone. The only difference is that some pretend better than others. Carl Jung, one of the greatest names in psychology, said that we are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become. And that's where the key lies. We choose to build a wall. The wall you build to protect yourself is built by hurt itself. The more hurt you get, the more solid the wall becomes. Soon, this shield of pain becomes a prison of pain. Becoming cold, indifferent, or untouchable is not the right way. It makes you lonely and isolated. It's about integrating. It's about bringing to light your dark and wounded parts of your psyche. True strength is not obtained by dissociating the hurt and sad parts of you, but by the realization that you will never be whole without your hurt and rejected parts. If you have found this video, it is not an accident. This is for the person who is tired of being hurt by everything and everyone. It's for the one who feels that others hold a strange power over his emotional state. This video is for the one who, when enters the domain of relationships, takes a submissive position, who is always secretly wishing to not get hurt, but gets hurt nevertheless. I am going to show you that there is another way. But beware, this is not a sweet middle path, but a path that requires facing truths that might hurt. And yet, for the first time you may discover, that hurt will be the key that sets you free. You have been taught to believe that the source of your pain is out there, that it lives in the careless words of a friend, in the judgment of a stranger, or think of the subtle hurt of explaining something you love, only to see the other person glance at their phone. That glance doesn't contain the hurt. The hurt is the echo it finds in a deeper fear. The fear of not being interesting, of not being worthy of attention. But the truth is as brutal as it is liberating. None of these things have any real power to hurt you, not unless there is already an open wound inside you for the pain to land in. An external event is like striking a C note in a room full of instruments. It creates a sound, but it only creates a deep, resonant vibration if there's a C tuning fork inside you, already waiting to sing along. Your unaddressed wounds are these tuning forks. What somebody says to you, the unfortunate events that happen to you, are just that, events or facts. The problem begins when these facts start shaping your internal reality. These facts become internal reality through your inner unconscious support. What hurts you is not what others do. It is what their actions activate within you. In psychology, this is called projection. The judgment from others that hurts the most is often the judgment we secretly hold against ourselves. It is the echo their words find in your own unexamined emptiness. Think of it this way. Hurt is intelligent. It seeks out and lodges itself in the weakest, most unaddressed parts of your psyche. Are you indisciplined? That feeling of being judged will burrow into the part of you that promotes laziness. Do you avoid conflicts? A dismissive comment will anchor itself to the part of you that promotes cowardice. This is why some people can withstand devastating storms, while others crumble at a single, poorly chosen word. It is not about what happens. It is about where it hits And it always hits where you are weakest, where you are not whole, the parts of you that you rejected, suppressed, left in the dark. This is the true battlefield, not the world outside, but the vast, unlit territory within, the place where every hurt you've ever ignored has been stored, waiting to be triggered. This is the realm of the unconscious, and in our next section, we will learn how to turn on the light. The biggest lie you have ever been sold is that you are in complete control of your life, probably by cheap self-help gurus who wanted nothing but your attention and money in exchange of their courses, which ironically came at a nominal fee of just $499. Let me give it to you straight. You are not, at least not as long as you live on the surface, reacting without knowing why, feeling without understanding the source, and making decisions that you later sabotage. Your conscious mind is merely the tip of the iceberg, the part you can see, but the unconscious is the enormous, invisible mass below the surface that dictates where the iceberg actually drifts. You've been trying to steer the tip while ignoring the massive force that is truly in control. Carl Jung made this devastatingly clear when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that is exactly what is happening to you. The pain you feel, the anger that explodes from nowhere, the insistent inner critic, the impeding mental introjects. None of it is random. They are messages from parts of you that have been forgotten, ignored, rejected, and repressed. It's a cry for help. The cry for help of a wounded child you locked in a dark room of your psyche because you didn't know how to take care of him. And what are these repressed parts? They are the tuning forks we talked about earlier. Stored in the darkness of the unconscious, they are silent until something from the outside world makes them ring. Think about what happens when you physically injure your body. Your entire system rushes to heal the injured part. It sends signals, it protects, it works to become whole again. But when you are hurt psychologically, you do the opposite. You distract yourself. You ignore the crisis. You numb the pain. Understand this very, very clearly. Whatever you choose to ignore does not disappear. It becomes a part of your unconscious, and from there, it begins to rule your life from the inside. This is what Jiddu Krishnmurti in some of his discourses called the content of consciousness. This is not a passive storage space. It is an active force. This ignored pain finds dangerous ways to manifest. In the toxic relationships you keep repeating, in the patterns of self-sabotage you can't seem to break, in the anxiety that cripples you just when things seem to be going well. This is not bad luck. This is not fate. This is not the conspiracy of the gods or the scheming of the devil. This is your unconscious trying to get your attention. This is the wounded inner child crying for attention. So, how do you face this inner world? It is a war, yes, but it is not a war you fight with guns and bombs, but with a process of integration. And that is what we will explore next. We are at a metaphorical crossroads now. Two paths ensue. And at this juncture, I'm reminded of the words of Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by. The first is the path most people take. It is the path of resistance, of building armor. When faced with the inner battlefield, the common, and not to mention mediocre, response is to construct walls, to develop a mask of indifference, to pretend that nothing affects you. But the psychological movement that avoids hurt is hurt itself. Think of it like the head of a snake. The coiled body is the pain content, and the head of the snake is the psychological movement protecting it. The moving head is not different from the snake. It is, in fact, the snake itself. This strategy of emotional suppression is not just ineffective, it is actively self-destructive. Trying to suppress a painful emotion is like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes constant, exhausting energy, and the moment your focus slips, it bursts to the surface with even greater force. Psychological research presents this very clearly. Trying to forcefully hide or control your emotions often leads to a rebound effect, where the feelings return with even greater intensity. You are not solving the problem, you are just increasing the pressure. This pressure, more often than not, translates to stress and deep-rooted anxiety. That emotional armor you build, that shield of pain you thought would protect you, inevitably becomes a prison of pain. It doesn't just keep the world out. It locks you in with your own suffering. The second path is the one less traveled. It is the path of awareness. It is the path of integration. It is the path of love in its truest sense. True emotional strength is not found by creating a barrier between yourself and the world. You do not become untouchable by closing yourself off. You become untouchable when you realize that no one can touch what has already been embraced within you. This is integration, the process of turning towards your rejected parts, your inner child, your shadows, not to fight them, but to understand them. It is bringing these hidden elements into the light of your awareness and accepting them as part of your whole self. And here is a profound secret. This integration isn't just about confronting your darkness. Your shadow also holds your greatest, undeveloped strengths, your hidden creativity, your repressed power, your deepest authenticity. This is what some Jungians call your golden shadow, and integrating it is how you reclaim your full potential. This is the journey Jung called individuation, not a process of achieving perfection, but of achieving wholeness. This is the same journey of wholeness, of holiness, that Jiddu Krishnmurti calls the awakening of intelligence. Then why is this path to wholeness so rarely taken? The reason is this path of integration requires the courage to face the very thing you've been running from, suffering itself. And as we are about to discover, that suffering is not an obstacle, it is the gateway. The obstacle is not the enemy, it is the stepping stone. Since you were a child, you were taught to hate pain. You were conditioned to accept the good and reject the bad. Always be top in class because failing is bad. You must always know what to do because being confused is bad. These type of people are good people, and these types are bad. Always be happy because being sad is bad. You were even taught that suffering is bad. You were taught that suffering is a sign of weakness, that to feel too much is to be vulnerable, that the goal is a life free of struggle, and so you learn to run, to avoid, to deny, to numb. But ignored pain does not disappear. It digs tunnels inside of you. It changes its form, disguising itself as chronic anxiety, as apathy, as a self-destructive impulse you don't understand. And one day, without warning, the ground beneath your feet collapses. Always remember, nothing in life happens all of a sudden. Everything that happens has a build-up. The multiple forces of the build-up can be ignored, but that doesn't mean the action will stop or the consequences won't show up. Carl Jung saw suffering in a completely different light. He believed it was a messenger from the soul. He famously said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, and listen to what she has to say. The lady wants to tell a story. Your pain is trying to speak to you. It's telling you that there is a war inside of you, a friction between the part of you that is crying out for growth and the part, your ego, that wants to keep everything the same. Change hurts. Letting go hurts. Allowing the parts of you that no longer serve you to die is a kind of grief. But it is only in that space of ruin that something new can be built. In Japan, there is an art form called Kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The belief is that the object is more beautiful for having been broken. Your suffering is the crack in the pottery. By facing it, you are not just fixing it, you are filling it with gold. It is an imploring challenge to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. As Jiddu Krishnmurti hinted, this pain is a nasty jewel. It is painful, but a jewel nonetheless, because it holds immense value. But most people are not bold enough. I don't think you are one of those people. The fact that you are still here tells me you are different. Then why don't you become a part of this movement? Subscribe. This is not a video. This is a silent revolution. This nasty jewel, the story of the Black Lady, this pain of embrace strips away the masks. It shatters the ego. It brings you to your knees before the only thing that can truly set you free, your whole, authentic self. This is why the mountain of unconscious is your path. This is why suffering is the gateway. Suffering is the necessary fire that forges the path to your own individuation. And in our next section, we will begin to walk that path together. Few people have the courage to begin the journey we are discussing, and even fewer have the courage to complete it. This is because the self-limiting shell is either created as a result of comfort or because of a deep yearning for validation, for approval. The path of individuation does not promise comfort. It does not protect your ego. It systematically dismantles it. The mask, the persona, the sense of false self is a consequence of fragmented learning. Your sense organs are biologically coded for survival. They are wired to react at flashy speeds. In the process of growing up, these senses learn to protect a false sense of identity. Your intellect and your mental faculties work around protecting these identities. Schools, moral institutions, religions, movies, media, news work overtime in handing you ready-made identities that are ultimately beneficial to them at the cost of your strength, at the cost of your core. Jung describes this false mask as a mask of collective convenience. But surviving is not living. Individuation is a call to live, and it demands that you tear off this mask to discover what lies beneath. The problem doesn't stop here. This fragmented, manufactured self has an element of energy involved. Keeping this mask, this sense of false self alive, takes up your vital energy. This trapped energy that yearns to be free throws up flags again and again that you interpret as fear, anxiety, unease, and perpetual tiredness. So you see, you don't have to understand anything. The process of individuation, above all, is unlearning what you think you are, so you can discover what you truly are. This is the great work of alchemy, not turning lead into gold in a lab, but turning the lead of your unconscious suffering into the gold of pure consciousness, all within the laboratory of your own soul. This is where you begin to become untouchable, not because nothing affects you anymore, but because you have already walked through the fire of self-discovery. You have faced your own inner monsters. You have looked into the eyes of your shame, your neediness, and your anger, and you have stopped letting them control you from the shadows. Jiddu Krishnmurti hated talking about parapsychological experiences like Kundalini awakening. But let me tell you something very simple and something very grounded. In the process of individuation, you are unleashing your body's trapped energy. This energy now gives you the power of inner clarity and the power of creativity. This new strength does not depend on external approval or recognition. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to appear strong because you are whole. When you embody your inner self, you start walking like a king, talking like a king, acting from a place of fullness and abundance. This abundance attracts more abundance. You feel internally secure. This is the royal shield. It is not a hard, brittle shell built to keep the world out. It is an integrated, flexible core of consciousness that remains unshaken in the face of storms. You still feel the pain, but it does not break you. You still experience the hurt, but you do not lose yourself in it. But let me put all the cards on the table. This journey can be lonely, not because you will be alone, but because few can accompany you into these depths. Most are still trapped on the surface, living through their masks. When you begin to free yourself, you will inevitably distance yourself from those who prefer their prisons. This is not narcissistic rejection, but a maturation. You no longer fit where you once hid. And this state of being, this integrated core, is consciousness itself, the only true immunity, the only true intelligence. In our final section, we will bring this journey to its conclusion. And so, we arrive at the end of this particular exploration, but at the beginning of something new, something bigger, something revolutionary. What began as a simple wish to be unshakable is now a call for change. Let me tell you this once again in an unequivocal tone. Nothing and no one will shield you from external suffering if you remain ignorant of what happens within you. Your feelings will still get hurt. People will still keep walking all over you. The rejections will continue to shake you, and your losses will shake your interiority until you choose to awaken. Awakening to your own power is not hard, but just feels that way. Power, stability, creativity are natural properties of your true self. How can achieving what you already are be hard? The difference between you and your authentic self is a layer of conditioning that resists change. Your life will not change all of a sudden. But with this video, I have hit the hammer, and you have allowed the hammer to fall on your life's block, enabling me to take a huge chunk of it away. Awakening is not something you do, but stopping what you are already doing to yourself. And this isn't some mystical state. It shows up in your daily life. It's the newfound ability to say no when you mean no. It's the choice to no longer laugh at jokes you don't find funny. It is your inner and outer worlds finally speaking with one voice. It is taking responsibility for everything you feel without blaming others, the past, or fate anymore. It is a decision where you understand it is finally the time to bring the wounded inner child to light and to slowly realize the child is your power. The ultimate immunity is not a rigid shell. It is clarity. It is not an absence of feeling. It is a profound, unshakable self-awareness. This will sound odd, but people who hurt you didn't harm you. They helped you. They helped you see where the holes are. They reached places you were trying to avoid. The best revenge is not harming them back, because then you become like them. You prove them right, and they win. When you understand your hurts, your trigger points, your destructive patterns, and your wounds, and when you let the metaphorical sunlight in, the influence of others on you starts becoming weaker and weaker. You are still human, but in your bones, you know you are superhuman. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still suffer, but you don't lose yourself. And that changes everything. Those who live on the surface of life are hurt by every wave, but those who dive deep find a stillness, a stability, and a power below. And that is where you are now headed. When you learn to live from this integrated core, the world can try to knock you down, but it will no longer find a fractured place to hit. Here is your chance. Declare it, name it, write it in the comments. I choose change. I choose awareness. I choose life. For when you declare this in front of someone who cares for you, which is me and everyone else you will meet in the comments section, you inwardly sign a declaration of independence. Independence from hurt, independence from pain, and independence from a life that is borrowed. This is the start of a movement of people who are no longer satisfied by pretense, but wish to satiate themselves with the healing showers of truth. And remember, the very next video is the logical next step to this journey. It's important. Well begun is half done, but real change demands that you keep going and not stop at the first step. The journey is long, but the freedom is real. I will see you in there.